Hello and welcome to the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks and general information that will help anyone to move things forward in this digital world of accounting. This show is brought to you by the Digital Disruptors and SB Digital. If you do not know them, please go and check them out on their websites. I'm your host Ryan Piercy and this episode is on Xero tips and tricks. We'll be diving into Xero and hopefully providing you some insights which you may not know about Xero, how it can help you operate it. So, all that said, let's crack on. Brilliant. You should be able to see now that I have Xero open. Now, don't worry, I'm not showing any actual data here. This is a demo company that we use. First thing I wanted to run through is that you can, if you may not be aware, you can actually operate Xero across multiple different tabs in your browser. Now, this is very helpful if you need to jump around different aspects in Xero quite quickly without having to use the back or forward buttons. So as you can see, I've got the dashboard open, I've got the bills open, I've got the file and recode open, all different areas that I'm going to touch on later. You can have all these open. Now, if you do use multiple different entities inside Xero, so if you go to change organization and you've got multiple entities open or that you access via your Xero login, and you want to operate in both those entities at the same time, you can't do this via having the same tab, multiple tabs open. What you'll find is if you go into one tab and you change the name, change the organization, then when you enter another one, it will automatically default to that organization. The way to get around this is if you open a private window. Now, if you're on a different browser, it may look slightly different, but if you open a private window and you navigate then to Xero and log in, you can access a different organization and keep two organizations open, potentially on different screens. Now, other thing I just want to touch on, as some people may or may not be aware of, you can plug multiple different data capture technology into Xero. We tend to use a product called Dext, which you can plug into Xero, scans invoices and push them through. Xero has a beautiful free tool called HubDoc, which you can use as well. If you've got a paid Xero license, you can use HubDoc. It's a slightly simpler tool than Xero. It's a slightly simpler tool than Dext, but would extract a lot of information off the invoice and push it through. But there is a simpler tool built directly inside Xero that you can use. So if you navigate to the bills to pay area inside Xero, on this top right-hand corner, you've got automate bill entry. If you click that, you've got an email address that you can copy in and forward your digital invoices into Xero, and it will extract certain information, such as the supplier name, the date, invoice number potentially, and some of the net and gross figures, and pull that into your draft bills. So you don't need to set up HubDoc, you don't need to sign up for a paid expense management system such as Dext or Auto Entry. You can just use the email in functionality inside Xero. Now, please be aware this is reduced functionality over HubDoc, and we still find that tools such as Dext, etc., are more advanced than HubDoc themselves. So you may find that you want to use more advanced tools, but it's a good place to start. Rather than typing in information directly into Xero, use the email in function, and it'll extract some information directly. A much more powerful tool I find inside Xero, one that I love to use all the time, is file and recode. So if you go to accounting, down the bottom of accounting, you'll see this file and recode option. That will navigate you to this screen, and you can move transactions around inside Xero via some specific rules. So if I add a condition that says maybe that anything that is in my Q cost code account, you see I've got random accounts in here, I wanted to move, I could basically do a search across that, you pick up some transactions, I could select them all because I've decided they're in the wrong place, and I could recode the source transactions to move them to a different account. In this case, maybe they should have been to this 100 account, and I would just process those and they'd move across straight away using that find and recode function. Very easy way to move transactions in bulk. If you've put them with the wrong VAT status, change it in that, move them to a different tracking category. Lots of different things you can do by the find and recode. Probably one of the most powerful bits of kit inside Xero. Now, I've talked about tracking categories. Tracking categories are incredibly powerful. You want to do reporting. You've got your nominal account structure, you've got your chart of accounts inside Xero. But if you want to splice data in multiple different ways, then it's worth checking out the tracking category options inside Xero. To get to those, you just go to settings on the left-hand side. navigate across to advanced settings, and then on the right hand side you'll see tracking categories. When you go in here, you have two options that you can add. Now we've created some default things in here that we've just used for testing, but you can rename these to anything you want, and you can add a number of options. Generally, Xero advises no more than 100 options live at any given time, but this is a soft limit. You can sometimes go over that, but they generally advise to be below it wherever possible. But it enables you to splice your data. So if you have cost centers, you have departments, you have locations, and you want to see what your profitability could be across any of one of those for your any given period, then you want to bring in tracking categories. Now, what that does enable you to do is do a lot of advanced reporting inside Xero. Now, you've got default reports inside Xero. You've got a lot of reports inside Xero. So if you go to the report area, you've got a lot of reports inside here. And the easy way to navigate to something is to just start typing it. Now, we've created a custom profit and loss. You can basically override any report to create a custom version. As you'll see when we get into it, you've got a lot of options that we have basically edited inside the Xero reporting tool. Now, to navigate back to what it would look like, you can just click this little box on the left-hand side, expand, and then go to the standard report. Now, this will revert back to what it looks like, and you can override what you've created as your custom report, saving that inside Xero. But what we find is actually editing the report into what you need is quite powerful, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But you've got lots of options up here that you can do. So quick navigational tools that you might want to do. So compare across different periods and compare across tracking categories, as I said, as we went through earlier. But something that people don't use that much is the edit layout option inside Xero. So you find a report that is a good base report, and you've got many options inside here to add columns, and you can do that such as a formula. So if you wanted to add your budget in, you could then do a formula that shows the variance from budget, or a fraction of budget. You can add percentages in here. Lots of different options you can add. You can also group codes together. So for example, if you've got lots of codes in your nominal account structure, you can group them together under subheadings and just show those reports. We do a lot of report editing for clients inside Xero, and it doesn't mean, what it means is you don't necessarily need to bring in an advanced reporting tool. You can do a lot in here. Now, there are restrictions inside the report editor. Trying to splice data between profit and loss and balance sheet accounts is a bit of a challenge, and although you can do in certain areas, it does lack functionality. You may need a more advanced reporting tool for that. And if you need to do forecasting as well, you'll want to overlay advanced reporting tools such as Fathom, Spotlight Reporting, Futurely, etc. Now, one area that people don't use a lot, but is actually very important, especially if you've got lots of control accounts, is the account watch list. Now, tagging a control account that you always want to come back to Xero is very good to bring in here, because you can always see on a day-to-day basis, am I hitting Xero? But other critical expenses, such as maybe advertising you want to keep track of, is brilliant to add in your account watch list. Now, to do that, if you navigate to your chart of accounts by going to accounting and chart of accounts, you can go into any account. So let's pick one here. Let's pick haulage purchases for whole. You can see random data in here, and you just put show on dashboard watch list, and that will appear inside your dashboard. One other area I want to touch on is this enable payments to this account feature. Now, this enables you to make payments from any transaction from any account. So I could enable this direct cost code to be used for my for paying off invoices or bills. Now I'm just going to save this so it shows it in here, but actually that works very well if you navigate down to your current liabilities. You may have, for example, a loan agreement that you want to be paying off costs, or what I find is any owner funds introduced drawings or a director's loan account. You want to enable payments to this account, meaning that you can pay off any transactions. One other area I wanted to touch on is inside your bills to pay area. So if you go to business and then bills to pay, something that people don't use very often is the ability to make batch payments. So flagging all of your transactions and enabling batch payment. Something you should be aware of is Xero is working on this at the moment, and plugging in technology underneath to enable you to pay directly from your bank using an advanced tool. So keep your eyes peeled for some advanced new functionality coming from Xero in this space. One thing as well that people don't use but can be quite helpful is if you're creating a new invoice, a new bill, and you want to quickly work out something. So I've got a painting. I've got one painting that I want to sell, but it's made up in multiple areas. So it might be like 10 versions of something that's 150. You can type it directly inside here, inside the price area, inside Xero, and it does a calculator. You can use plus. So you could do any kind of calculations inside it. If you can do it accurately, which I've just randomly put in numbers, then it will work out what you need inside here. And that works for the quantity, the price, and the discount column, which I don't have in this demonstration. And then finally, one area that I wanted to touch on is the Xero App Store. Now, this is the most powerful area of Xero, in my opinion. It's something that they've built out over a number of years and enabled them to build or work with businesses that go way beyond, I guess, a small business. Now, to navigate to the Xero App Store, if you do the drop down over here, you've got an option that says Xero App Store, and that'll pick up this default page. Now, there's multiple ways to use the Xero App Store. You've got, depending on what sector or industry you're in, you'll get relevant apps for that sector. We have flagged this demo company as being an agricultural business, and so we're getting agricultural apps appear, Figured being a very advanced agricultural reporting tool. You have featured apps that Xero put forward as potentially apps that you want to consider, and new apps that have come into the space, so any that may be relevant. And then you've got featured apps based on different kind of functionality. I find looking at the drop-down options up the top very powerful because you've got functionality. If you're looking at something that might be payroll-related, it will navigate to just the payroll-related apps and enable you to look at those. And always keep an eye on what these reviews say. So number of reviews and also the number of stars. It gives you an idea of how many times this app has been used in conjunction with Xero. Industries is always a powerful one to go to, especially if your industry or sector is relevant for here. As we demonstrated earlier, you've got agricultural based apps that you can filter down. Now, some of these are very specific to agriculture, such as Figured. Some are more generic, such as Consolidator, which works across multiple different industries. So be aware, although you have apps that are guided towards that sector, it may be that they're quite generic as well. Usually the ones that are, I guess, more towards the top left-hand corner inside any sector are those that are more relevant to that sector. One area that actually you find if you are an accountant in the space and you want to recommend apps to clients is if you jump into an app, you've got this ability to tag this app to appear on that client's Xero App Store homepage, which means if they navigate from their side into the Xero App Store, it will appear right here in the top. Now, I appreciate I've just gone through a very quick whistle-stop tour of what Xero can do for you and areas that you may not be aware of inside Xero. So there's lots more functionality, lots more that you can do with it, but I feel that's probably a great place to wrap this week's show up. Hopefully this episode has provided you with some valuable insights that you can take forward, especially if you work with Xero or considering working with Xero. Please do check out the show notes for links to digital disruptors, SB Digital, and anything and anyone that we've referenced in the show. If you want to ensure you catch future episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you look out for the release every Thursday morning. I look forward to speaking to you next week.